We have assumed that he's coming. Good to go? All right, call the meeting to order. Good afternoon, everybody. This is the February 17th, 2015 public meeting of the Mount Pearl City Council. All of you have in front of you the agenda for today. I will accept the motion on the agenda to be accepted as presented. It is moved by Councillor Ledwell, seconded by Councillor Tessier. Are there any additions to the agenda that are not referenced already? I don't have anything myself outside. Anybody? The answer is no. Call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. First item on the agenda would be the minutes and action report from our council meeting of January 27th. Move a motion to accept, moved by Councillor Stoyle, seconded by Councillor Walsh, to accept the minutes of January 27th as presented. Any errors or omissions in there? Errors or omissions only? Hearing none. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. Business arising, again, from the minutes of January 27th. Please refer to the agenda item number attached if there is an item to refer to. Looking for business arising from January 27th. All right, then I'll look for at least a smile. Will somebody smile at least? Okay. There's no business arising. Hearing none, we will move on. Council, we have no proclamations, presentations to present today. However, I am tabling in our chamber this afternoon a reply to a letter that we wrote to the Minister of Federal Infrastructure, Communications and Intergovernmental Affairs, the Honourable Denis Labelle. And this is in reference, obviously, to the new wastewater regulations, which are going to have such a dramatic impact, quite frankly, on both wastewater and financing issues that we're going to be facing in this particular region over the next several years. By 2020, we have to have secondary processing on wastewater. That's going to add dramatically to the cost of wastewater. In fact, the capital cost in the province of Newfoundland is estimated at about $500 million. The total bill across the country will be $18 billion. That's in 2014 dollars. And 50% of that $500 million bill, guess who's going to bear that? Why, it's all of these nice communities here on the Northeast Avalon at the moment, namely St. John's, Mount Pearl, Paradise, and Conception Bay South. We wrote a letter to the federal minister. His response is there. It is not a letter that the Federation of Canadian Municipalities will be saying they are pleased with, and it is not a letter that MNL will say that it is pleased with, and we are certainly hoping that the province of Newfoundland and Labrador will also say they're not pleased with it either. This letter basically tells us that any funding available under the new Building Canada Fund that has recently been announced by the federal government will qualify for wastewater treatment programs if we want to divert all of our infrastructure money to that cause. I don't know if anybody wishes to speak to it or not. I am going to ask permission of council to circulate that particular letter, though, to our colleagues in the urban municipal towns, probably as early as this weekend. Everybody got no problem, no comment on it? We will move along then. We are into committee reports. The first will be our Community Services Committee. Deputy Mayor Jim Locke, the floor is yours, sir.
Zipping right along, Your
Or should
Worship.
we just call you Poppy?
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Poppy, he's going to be a grandpa. Yeah.
Yes.
Poppy and Nanny.
Yeah.
Nanny Jen.
There you go. Well, according to the mayor, you take the mayor for what he's worth. So we all
Mayor
know,
never lies.
We all know what the mayor says is true, right?
Mayor never lies.
You can either affirm it or deny it.
True. As of September, yes.
And if it's a boy, they're naming him Randy. So I'm very proud.
That is definitely not true.
They're going to name him Andy.
Anyways, thank you, Your Worship.
Close enough.
Two quick items here.
Go ahead, sir.
The first has to do with our Admiralty House Communications Museum. This is the installment of their operating grant for 2015. We're recommending approval to release the first installment of this grant for the Admiralty House in the amount of $20,666, and I so move.
It is moved and seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried.
The next, Your Worship, has to do with, it's a good news story in one sense, in that we need additional programming at our our new Summit Center for the Aqua Zumba daytime class. Just for the information of our public, that we have added an extra class to help meet the demand of this programming. It's going to be from 1:45 to 2:35 p.m. on Tuesdays. 30 people maximum for this particular time slot. And for more information, they can contact 748-1002, the Mount Pearl Summit Center. So again, that's good news that we've had such a huge uptake that we've had to add extra classes there. So that's just an
Aqua
information.
Zumba.
Aqua Zumba. So I have never done it myself, but
Has anybody done any Zumba?
apparently it's all the rage. So
Yes, it's awesome.
good.
You've done
Good
Zumba?
workout?
I did Aqua Zumba at the summit.
Oh, you did Aqua Zumba.
I did. It was fantastic.
Is it dancing in water?
It's sort of like it's like a mix between aerobics and dance, I suppose.
The lights get turned down.
Yeah.
The lights get turned down. Oh, so you actually you just drown quietly then.
No.
It's like a party.
Nobody drowns at the summit, so Your Worship. Nobody drowns at the summit.
Well, I
So-
haven't done Aqua Zumba.
Right. Well, I'm
It's like a party in the water.
good.
It's like a
I
party in the
recommend
water.
the mayor stay
Is
out
it
of Aqua Zumba.
predominantly girls?
Yes, but that doesn't matter.
What do you mean? Yes, but that doesn't matter.
Everybody's welcome. You're welcome. Everybody be great at it. It's so much fun. And the beauty of it is, most of your body's below the surface, so if you mess it up, nobody can see it.
Right. Which is important.
Well, the beauty of it is most of your body is below the surface, so nobody can see. Doesn't matter whether you mess it up or not.
That's right. Nobody can see.
That's it for us, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's all there was for that, eh? Corporate Services, Councillor Aker.
Well, I'll try to keep zipping along. First item for action today is the uncollectible account number 8532 in the amount of $1,613.77, and the committee is recommending we approve right off. All efforts have been exhausted to collect the amount.
Moved by
And I
Councillor Aker, seconded by Councillor Tessier. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
Professional development and training, we have two requests. The first one is for the Director of Community Services to attend the Mania, the Fitness Mania Pro Convention taking place on May 1st to the 3rd of 2015, and I so move. And this is, of course, in accordance with our staff professional development plan, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Contrary minded, carried.
FCM conference is coming up in Edmonton, June 5th, from June 5th to June 8th, 2015. And I'd like to move that in accordance with our professional development training policy, Councillor Stoyles and Councillor Tessier are seeking permission to travel, and I so move.
It is moved and seconded. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
Thank you. A very big item coming up next has to do with borrowing for the Summit Center. As Councillor Walsh, I think, is going to walk us through some of the costs related to the contract. But in round numbers, we borrow we require in excess of about $30 million to have built the Summit Center. We've already borrowed $15 million. I believe we did that in the last calendar year. And in this calendar year, we're going to borrow another $15 million basically to finalize the transaction. Committee has met, looked at a number of options. We're recommending that Phase 2 financing in this amount of $15 million be awarded to the best value from the RBC, Royal Bank of Canada. And it goes on to say that the recommended option for financing is by way of a banker's loan, banker's acceptance loan and interest rate swap, amortized and repaid over a 25-year period, with this swap to be for 20 years, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. Questions or comments? Given the tremendous amount of education we all now have on interest swaps, I'm assuming that none of us have any questions. All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
Invoices for approval. You see 13 items there in the amount of $768,539.37. The highest of it being some good news for the residents of Commonwealth Gardens. We're putting and paying for now the sidewalks that are being placed there, $211,000, as well as our insurance renewal in the amount of $382,000 and change. And I'd like to move the list of 13. Thank you.
Moved and seconded. Question or comment on any of the invoices listed 1 to 13? Hearing none. All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
A couple of information items, and congratulations goes out to employees Alison Piercy, Alison Critch, Christine Young, and Colleen Butler. They, on February 3rd, attended a Canadian Blood Services annual recognition event. And at this event, the City of Mount Pearl was one of the organizations recognized for our support of the Partners for Life program, and we're presented with the Partners for Life Certificate of Recognition, and we want to commend the staff at City Hall, because the honor does not really, we could not have been bestowed the honor without the active dedication and participation of employees like I just mentioned.
That is
and
wonderful.
I'd like to bring that to everybody's attention.
Thank you, sir.
And finally, Threads for Life, we've been advised that as part of North American Occupational Safety Week, NAOSH Week, the city will be registering a team of employees in the Steps for Life, walking for victims of workplace tragedy. And of course, this workplace of ours over the years has seen some tragedy, as I'm sure if all of you look around in the years gone by, places you work or been affiliated with, where basically safety, unlike today, has not necessarily been a high priority. The walk is a 5K fundraiser to help support families of workplace tragedies, and it is the primary fundraising event that funds Threads for Life, and that's a nationally registered charity, and it's dedicated to supporting the families of those workplace tragedies. And I just want to bring that to everybody's attention. If you could slip this in your calendar later on when the final date is worked out. I don't have a date here, I don't think.
No, it doesn't show a date.
NAOSH Week is in May.
It's in May.
So that'll be coming shortly. And that's all I have, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Aker. Infrastructure Public Works Committee report. Councillor Walsh, floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. The first item deals with a financial summary for the Summit Centre. Councillor Aker put forward a motion for support for some borrowing for that for today. And we need, of course, and we've just to point out to the public, we've already gone through individual change orders and sought permission for the various change orders that are listed. Some of these that don't have numbers, by the way, and I asked the question, that's why I know the answer. They simply haven't gone through the numbering process yet to be assigned a number. But all these change orders have been approved, but we now need an approval, including all of the change orders from Council for the tune of $33,223,317.80. And it's not very often that we have to put something through at that cost, but we need that today. The various change orders that we've already approved are specified, Your Worship, and are clearly outlined there. And if anyone has any questions on them, I'm sure staff can answer any specific questions that are there. But we did bring them in one by one over a course of a number of years. These, by the way, include everything up to, I think, the 23rd of January, 2015. And so with that, if there are no questions, I make the motion and I so move.
Moved, seconded by Deputy Mayor Locke. Anybody with any questions at all? Does this represent, Councillor Walsh, the absolute final bill?
Not necessarily.
Not
It's
necessarily
99% financially complete. There may be some things that need to come through yet that are not yet approved, that we're not yet aware of. And so that's why
we're under 34 million. Though.
Yeah, we're within our contingency and all of that.
This baby is done, and we do meet that final number. It will be under 34 million.
Yep.
That's not bad.
Well, it's expensive, but it's what we predicted, and our estimates were good. And I think because of the due diligence of our staff, and we did have someone specified to oversee this and oversee the project on behalf of the city, in addition to our engineering consultant. So I think we did everything that's reasonable and appropriate and prudent to do in such a large project, an undertaking like that. And I think that's in large measure why we came in, within budget and within the contingency that was allocated for it. So I think credit goes to a lot of people for that. And I think, from community service, from our own infrastructure, public works, to our corporate services people, a lot of people deserve credit for this. And of course, this all had to go through our planning department as well for approval, for opening, and all of those kinds of things. So it was a real concerted effort on the part of many.
We will now call the question. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. The second item refers to the request for a change order related to the City Hall generator. There was an omission of the tap in the generator. That's there for a number of practical purposes, also for safety purposes as well. And of course, this is for part of our emergency response for in cases of loss of power. And we're happy to say that now we're set up so that we have two locations. The City Hall and the depot is also set up so that we have, reserve powers in place in the event of a loss of electricity. So I think this was all heightened very much as part of the dark NL experience that we went through. So far this year, thankfully, we haven't really had to apply it or use it, but it's there for circumstances that are listed for obvious reasons as emergencies, and we needed to have assurances that we had a good backup power supply in place, and with this, I think we have that done. So this particular change order is to the tune of just $3,110.53, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. Did anybody by any chance read this thing?
Swaps are more complicated.
The swaps you think are more complicated than the tap in the generator that wasn't included in the original design?
I read it, but I
you
still
read
can't.
this
I still
thing?
can't say that I really understand it. But
The tap in involves a plug on exterior generator of the building that
and the
load
secondary
truck
breaker with a shunt
can connect, and
all
a
this
secondary
stuff.
breaker will disconnect the building from the generator during maintenance loading. A shunt trip. I'm not even going to ask the engineer what that is. I figure it's just like somebody tripping over their tongue and they meant short trip.
It's
All
something-
those in favor?
I think it's something like that.
All those in favor?
Thank-
Contrary-minded, motion is carried. I'm looking forward to the Pearl explaining this one to me.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'm sure they'll do a good job of that.
He's gonna
The
go,
next thing,
"What?"
and I know our director is salivating with these next couple of motions. The contract award for the supply and delivery of 4 new loaders. Our equipment is aging, and I was delighted that we were able to get these loaders with power angle blades and wing blades attached approved. The total cost is $1,283,906.
Which one of you cried the most at budget time? I'm just wondering.
Well, there wasn't a whole lot of crime, but there was a lot of celebrating.
There was a lot of celebrating
which was
after.
good. Celebrating, at least on our part. So it was good that it's done. We have been, by the way, feeling the ill effects of some of our aging fleet in the last 3 or 4 days, and is at a time as well, and I'll explain a little bit more with the update, but it's at a time as well when we're also down 2 of our mechanics, and it's been a real tough grind for the last 3 or 4 days for our mechanical crews in particular. And also, a big part of that is that some of our infrastructure is in fact aging, and we had particular problems with loaders, I think, Mr. Antle, and so it's good that we're getting these. Unfortunately, we won't receive them until this winter weather is over, but they'll be in the fleet and ready to go for next year, which is really good.
We got a couple of loaders there that led Moses out of the...
Well, yeah, they're in their 70s,
Children
and
of Israel
that's
out
not
of the
good.
wilderness.
We need new fleet. That the motion is made, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried.
Along the same vein, Your Worship, the committee recommends approval be granted to award the contract for the supply and delivery of 3 loader-mounted snow blowers. These total $402,845, including taxes. These are all to Vol. We did get an exceptional return on our initial investment. Vol's back in business. They gave us a great return, as you'd expect from the supplier, particularly when you're returning Vol equipment, and that made this very manageable for us at this time. So we're delighted with that. The cost is there, and I make a motion for approval, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. Questions or comments?
I have a curiosity.
Councillor Aker, a curiosity.
Thanks, Director Antle. Because obviously now, the main wheels of the loader, it's better than buying a full rig, basically, for your blower. What's the turnaround time to hitch these up to a loader, say after a storm? I'm assuming that's how you're going to use them. Once the main plowing is done and now you're doing the regular pushback a day or 2 later, obviously the mechanics got to unplug the blades and plug this in. Is it very quickly, is it plug and play like I'm used to, or?
It's a fairly quick turnaround to actually take them out, switch them out. Like a blade, for example, on a truck would only take 10 or 15 minutes. A loader-mounted attachment might take you a half an hour to an hour. It's not a long time to actually do that switch around.
No, that's really good news.
Councillor,
It's that's all. That's all.
She has a whole other concept of playing with dinkies,
Councillor
obviously.
Stiles knows all about it because she has grandchildren. I'm assuming the deputy mayor still will know all about it.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's as we have a boy, Deputy Mayor. Okay, the next item is the changes in the animal control regulations that have been specified. We had highlighted these in committee of the whole. I'm just going to go through them very quickly. I'm not going to go through the entire regulations, but the changes were to the number of animals that could be kept at a residence, and we had specified that at 5. These apply only to cats and dogs, by the way, okay, when we're referring to animals in these animal control regulations. But at the discretion of council, we have discretion to allow for more than that if required, and you remember our discussion in committee of the whole on that. B, section 20, refers to when an animal is released, becoming the property of an organization. We have a number of organizations that help us out to place animals in good homes that have been left in the shelter, sometimes for several days. And we had some issues or problems or concerns related to when does this animal become the property of the organization to which it is released, and that's clarified in the regulation as well. The responsibility of the owners to incur costs, particularly for dogs or cats that have tags or that have the microchips that are there and can be read. When we identify the owner or the owner wants the property, they have to incur the costs of impoundment as well as any costs associated with, for example, veterinarian fees and that sort of thing. The fourth, section 27, deals with the holding period, and the director is then authorized to release the animal to one of the rescue groups like Beagle Paws or Heavenly Creatures or one of these other groups. And we had not really had in our regulations previously, Your Worship, a definition of inspector, and that has been added to the definitions. These are very minor changes, but they do require an updating, and this is brought forward for the information of the public and, of course, for council, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. Just before we vote, a question for you, Councillor, on all this. I noticed that we are now putting pictures of animals up on our website. How's that working out?
Working out pretty well. In fact, it was only
heard
2
any
weeks
feedback.
ago in the last meeting. I think it was the first time that we had actually posted pictures. It was at the suggestion of some of the rescue groups, and of course it took a little bit of time for us to get that up and running. But with the cooperation of our IT people, now as an animal is impounded, we take a picture of the animal, we post it immediately to the website. It's just another feature whereby people, if they're missing an animal, you can immediately go in and say, "Oh yeah, that's my cat or that's my dog," and they can see it positively identified to a point. I guess as much as you can.
Has it been used much, or is there any way for us to even track it?
I guess the director can answer.
I don't have direct feedback on what we've received from the public just yet. I will tell you, though, that we are also, once we post the animal, if it is found and recovered, we actually post it across the website picture as well to say it's found.
Yeah.
So it also stays up there for a while, so in case some people are interested in adopting, they'll actually see, well, that animal's been recovered, right?
Yeah.
But I want next council meeting, I'll give you some
I just
feedback.
wondered. I haven't heard much or gotten any feedback, so.
Another thing, Your Worship, that is in the regulations there is the tagging, that the city will provide a metal tag, and that goes hand in hand with posting it. If residents do take the time to come out and have their animal tagged, we'll register it. So then if one of our staff picks up the animal, right off the bat we have contact information, so you won't need to worry about trying to look on our website to find it. So I like the idea of promoting that as well, Your Worship.
And of course,
Absolutely.
we now have the equipment, Deputy Mayor, for the reader of the microchips, because many of the purebred animals now have the chips implanted. And for a while, we were aware that the chips were there, but we didn't have a reader. So now we can identify the chips in the animals that are there. Many purebred dogs have that, and that's a great feature that we're able to now access as well. So as many ways as we can to try to positively identify an owner we have in place right now. I think there's another question there, Your Worship.
Councillor Tessier.
On the number of animals to be kept specified at 5, we're talking about cats and dogs. I understand that we do have the discretion to make some exceptions, and I'm assuming that's in the case of maybe foster care families, if people are fostering animals on a temporary basis.
Yeah, I did highlight that, Councillor, when I brought it through. There might be extenuating circumstances, even for temporary periods of time, when there would be more than 5 animals, that we would allow for. Sometimes, perhaps, we would be unaware of them. Many times, we will be. But if if there's permission sought for it, we have the discretion at least to be able to approve it above 5, which is a great addition as well, and a change and amendment to these regulations. Number 6, Your Worship.
I'll call this one.
I'm
All-
sorry.
All
Yep.
those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried. Sorry, Councilman.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if we actually needed a motion for that, but I assume we did. Okay. Okay, number 6, the supply and delivery of one multi-purpose municipal tractor complete with snow blower. The cost of this is $143,142.75. Again, another addition to our fleet. The original contract amount was awarded to Saunders Equipment, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
Very briefly, Your Worship, we had, as most of us are well aware now, on Thursday of last week, about 60 centimeters of not just snow, but very, very high winds, which created a lot of problems in terms of drifting. And that lasted for a very long period of time. It's a little unusual that you get that large an amount of snow with that high wind force for such a prolonged period of time, and I think that really complicated operations in a number of municipalities, but we dealt with it reasonably well, I think. Snow clearing will never be 100% perfect or to everyone's satisfaction. It's just not ever going to be possible that will be the case. There will always be exceptions. There will be things that are overlooked. There will be equipment breakdowns. There will be things that we have to deal with and address. But generally speaking, I think our crews did an exceptionally good job with the equipment we have. All the equipment was out. We were running 24-hour operations. We were doing cleanups, pushbacks. Right now, we have just about all of the hydrants cleared. I think, Mr. Antle, we have our heavy snowblower equipment out. They were up in Pearlview and some of these areas today. We have our sidewalk blowers, and we just recently allocated some new purchase of sidewalk blowers that will add to that fleet. They're out, and we did have a blower down, which was a big, pardon the pun, blow on the weekend to the equipment, and of course it's still not out in operation, but we're hoping that we'll have that back probably tomorrow, I guess. So these are the kinds of things that you really don't have any control over, but we would have liked, for example, to have even a quicker response in terms of the pushback, and the only way you can really clear snow that's at the volume that we had since Thursday is with the blowers, because anything else is just a continuous, it was just a continuous pushing of snow with flyers and loaders, and
you
you
end
can
up
only
pretty well out
you
in
need
the
to
street,
remove
I'll
it.
tell you, it
Yeah.
really does, right?
Yeah, you really do need to remove it. So, under the circumstances, I think our crews did a fabulous job. We are actively recruiting a couple of mechanics that we need to fill these positions, and that was a blow. And I think we have 3 others on staff. Do we have a total of 5 altogether? 7. Okay, so we had 5 that were working. Of course, everybody was taxed a little more.
So we've got
because,
2 positions for heavy equipment mechanics.
yeah. Yeah. So, but your point is, yes, we are actively
looking for
recruiting for 2 mechanic positions. So that's
Wanted
it
to
for
hire
me.
2 mechanics.
Yes.
Please, he's saying. Please.
Your Worship,
Thank you,
before you go
John.
on-
Yeah,
Thank you very
I have a question as well.
Yeah,
You go right ahead.
Your Worship, just in addition to what Councillor Walsh mentioned about the winter maintenance, I did receive a couple of emails actually on the grooming of the trails, on how widely used they are, and with all the snow, and of course explained them as we always do about the priority. They understood that. So I contacted Mr. Entel today, and they're hoping once all the pushback is done and all the cul-de-sacs are taken care of and the sidewalks and stuff like that, then we can move on to our trail grooming. So we are
There is a priority.
right, absolutely. So now we're at the point now, given the nature of our pushback, that we're able to move hopefully tomorrow and tonight to the groomings of the trails. So just let people know that we haven't forgotten about it.
They're in the
Right.
process of being.
So there's a process. So I just wanted to highlight that, Your Worship. Yep.
Thank you, sir, very much. Mr. Randall, did we send out a community alert to cancel garbage collection on Thursday? We did. Any response from anyone on that? It just went fine? There was nothing? I never heard anything around. I'm just wondering, did we do it?
It was a good idea. I think we had the open day on Monday, and I think given the circumstances, even on Friday, if I could respond to that, I think that was a great call. We do have an open day on Monday. Thursday was a really, really nasty day. The high winds would have created havoc for the carts perhaps anyway, but not having that out and getting the word out early was really important, I think.
Right.
We're able to notify people. And of course, we have the means now to specify areas and send out notices. And then there were public notices made on the websites as well. People were notified through our dialing system and emails or whatever choices they made to have either tweets or something else sent out by way of messaging. So I think that really, really worked well, and I think it's something that we should keep in mind in the future as well. Even on Friday, by the way, when you're having snow clearing operations, garbage day in my area was on Friday. And I tell you, when you've got snow like we had Thursday night, overnight, and into Friday morning, and you've got the containers out, some of the people are putting the containers a little out into the street, and then when the plow comes by to push back, the containers are actually an impediment to snow clearing operations, and that becomes a bit of a danger, a bit of a threat, and I know that our crews have to sort of manipulate equipment, and that's not easy. It may look like it's easy, but if you're up in one of those loaders and you got side blades down, boy, they're very, very, very intimidating, and you can't come within a couple of centimeters of a garbage container and avoid that. So, it creates a lot of problems. So that's what we would have run into times 10 on Thursday if we had not canceled the garbage collection. So I think the cancellation of that with an early notification was a wise move.
Excellent, Jeff. Mr. Adler.
To echo the benefits of our garbage carts, we did get calls throughout the day on that Thursday of the storm, and most of the calls, we probably got in the order of 50 or 60 calls. They were very simple. Is garbage next day, or is it on Monday? That was a very simple question, and the carts are large enough to take the garbage to continue on for easily to go on a bit further. And the benefit also of postponing garbage collection, we have operators then that are available to put more attention at the snow clearing. So it benefits us all around.
Yeah, it's fabulous. Absolutely great program. How smart are we? They don't know. The world don't know, and neither do we.
As long as the weather forecast is good.
We're okay. Yeah. All right, moving on. Thank you, Councillor Walsh, for that report. Councillor Ledwell, Planning and Development Committee.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll see how smart I am now.
Looking pretty good here on the first one.
All right. What's that? I can count. I can even do math, believe it or not. The first item on our agenda, Your Worship, is an application for a family childcare use at 5 Bletchley Crescent. It's a use where they're applying for use of up to 6 children. It falls within the residential medium density zone, and of course, as you'll recall, Council, this is a discretionary use for that particular type of zone. We did have a briefing session that was scheduled for February 4th here at City Hall. However, there were 3 respondents that responded to the call for the briefing session. None of the 3 wanted to attend the briefing session, but they did want to raise some concerns regarding traffic, the impact on property values that the business might have, and some congestion within the neighborhood potentially. The proposed family childcare use for up to 6 children does comply within the development regulations. Of course, generally, Council in the past has been supportive of childcare uses in residential areas because, of course, we do like to strengthen our family-friendly neighborhoods within the city. We're not anticipating much in the way of major traffic concerns on Bletchley Crescent. It isn't a high thoroughfare, and we're talking about a number of pickups in the morning, perhaps some pickups in the afternoon, and the site does have a large driveway that can accommodate 3 additional vehicles. So certainly, the traffic there, we're hoping the impact should be minimal. So the department has reviewed the application. We have discussed it in committee, and generally speaking, we have no objection with recommending that the application be approved and that a development permit be issued subject to the conditions in your kit, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried.
Our second item, Your Worship, is to do with an application for a home-based business. Once again, this one is at 10 Sauve Street. It is an application to operate a wedding cake retail business out of a basement apartment located in the applicant's home. It is proposed that the business would only take up approximately 5% of the entire floor area of the property. The only employee of the business would be the resident. and there are 3 on-site parking spaces that do exist. There is a large driveway at this particular site as well. So once again, parking should not be an issue. We did have a briefing session that was scheduled for February 3rd of 2015 right here at City Hall. This time we received no responses to the call for representations, and therefore the briefing session was cancelled. This particular home-based occupation would comply, once again, within the development regulations, given the low number of clients that are expected to be coming back and forth. We are not anticipating any traffic or congestion problems in the neighborhood. After the review of staff and discussion at committee, once again, we are prepared to recommend that this application be approved and that the development permit be issued subject to the conditions in the application here, and I so move.
Moved by Councillor Ledwell, seconded by Councillor Walsh. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
Next item is a notice of motion, which I'll read into the record. In accordance with Section 39 of the City of Mount Pearl Act 1988, take notice that in accordance with Council's public notification policy, I will, at a regular meeting of Council, move an amendment to the text of the Mount Pearl Development Regulations 2010 that, if enacted, will, in Section 11, Use Zone Schedules, add personal service and clinic to the list of permitted commercial uses in the Heritage Use Zone. The purpose of this proposed amendment is to list personal services and clinics as permitted uses in these specific use zones. Our next item, Your Worship, is the development permit list for the period of January 26th to February 13th, 2015. There are a total of 5 permits there, numbers 6 through 10, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Carried.
Finally, Your Worship, we have our building construction totals on both the residential and the commercial sides for January 26th to February 13th of 2015. On the residential side, we had a relatively successful period. The total for the period is $297,500, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried.
And finally, on the commercial side of things, the total for the period January 26th to February 13th of 2015, $38,000, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. Transportation Public Safety Committee report, Councillor Tessier.
Thank you very much. Just a brief FYI for our residents. We've had a couple of complaints about some unwanted behavior, of course, in some neighborhoods, and that happens, usually more so in the fair weather months, but every now and then we see it in the winter as well. And we want to remind everybody that we've got a great neighborhood watch program. One of our municipal enforcement officers has spearheaded this initiative. We are really pleased to set up information sessions if people want to know more about it. There might be some talk of doing something in the spring if we have some people who have expressed concerns in our neighborhood, we might actually send them an invitation to come to an information session as well. But it really is a great tool for us to have. It's something that we regenerated last year again, put a new fresh face on an old program, but it was something that proved to be very effective. We have several that are up and running and are successful right now in Mount Pearl. And we would encourage anybody, if they have concerns in their neighborhood at all about any unwanted activity, by all means get in touch with us. We'd love to explain the program to them, show them how they can get involved, and really have it act as a deterrent of any unwanted behavior in their neighborhoods. Working together, absolutely.
Amen. Thank you for that. That concludes all committee reports. We're moving on to new business. Deputy Mayor.
A couple here, Your Worship, and they're all good news. Actually, a few. First, I heard on sports reporting that our very own Samantha Marsh,
Yes.
you may remember Samantha at the Hall of Fame event. She was nominated for one of the awards. So she and her partner Haley Barrett, I think Haley's from Gould's area, they won gold medal at the Canada Winter Games. So in the air rifle. So say that again. She was a flag bearer as well. Thank you, Councillor Stoll. So congratulations to Samantha and her partner Haley. Also, Your Worship, this Friday and Saturday, Friday night into Saturday, in celebration of the 40th anniversary of the Mount Pearl Minor Hockey Association, we're hosting the first annual Winter Classic. We're hoping to play on Powers Pond, actually, weather permitting, and we're going to have our ice tested to more for thickness and stuff like that. So The committee will meet tomorrow evening and make a decision as to whether or not ice conditions are safe and suitable for that. But if Powers Pond is not suitable, we do have a secondary location down at Team Guju, and instead of ice skating, we'll have road hockey. The plan is to have every hockey player in the Mount Pearl Minor Hockey Association play a game of hockey Friday night and all day Saturday. I know that Jonathan Crow with CBC is intending to come on out and do a little spot for us and maybe shoot some pucks or balls around. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Mr. Silver was indicating to me prior to the meeting that all players, all teams have been contacted by the association, Mount Pearl Minor Hockey Association. Just let the players and parents and coaches know that that event is scheduled for this Friday. So we're hoping that it's going to be the first of an annual event to celebrate hockey in our community. So I just wanted to put that one out there. And last year, Worship, I do want to send out a huge thank you and bouquet and congratulations to the Frosty Festival Committee. It was a beautiful 10-day event. We lost a couple of events due to snow, but for the most part, the crowds were just absolutely outstanding and amazing this year. So we learned through some growing pains with the massive crowds that we've had, and we did meet at Community Services Committee yesterday and talked about some of the things that we've learned through this. But again, to Keith White and the committee, all the volunteers, make no wonder we have such a huge community spirit here in Mount Pearl, because the crowds were phenomenal. And as we know, it's not just the Mount Pearl residents, but people from the broader region, and we certainly welcome everyone to come out. And it sort of makes winter a little more enjoyable as opposed to looking forward to the cold and snow. So it was a great event. So again, congratulations to all involved. Thank you, Your Worship. That's it from me.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Stoyles.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a number of items actually today. Frosty Festival, of course, was one of the things I certainly want to mention. One of the things I will highlight now when we're talking about Frosty Festival, and along with Deputy Mayor Locke, thank all the volunteers and the committee. On Thursday this week, a couple of events that had been cancelled. The Seniors Bowling is going to continue this Thursday at 9 a.m. at Paradise Bowl, and the Frosty Visits to the Seniors Home is one left at Crayday Manor, and it's 2 to 3. And of course, it's not going to head on Thursday. So
you may do it Friday.
Okay, because we just got an email saying it was on. So I was just going to say, because of Councillor Walsh and his musical talent, it certainly has been a great success over the past number of years, and it certainly is a joy to go to all those events and watch the seniors who can't get out to enjoy and part of the festival as well. And speaking of volunteers, on January 29th, I attended the volunteer luncheon from the Community Service Council, and this year's theme for Volunteer Week is the many faces of volunteers, and Volunteer Week is April the 12th to the 18th, and of course we have our own Citizen of the Year, and the nominations are out now from the Kinsman Club for that, and just wanted to highlight our own events and to thank all the volunteers who put so much time into our community, especially during the winter time and especially during Volunteer Week. Also this morning, Your Worship, I attended the breakfast for the homeless, and our own staff. Julia's here now, and many of our staff who's there serving pancakes this morning. I think we're going to raise well over $1,000 for the homeless just here at City Hall, and there was a number of breakfasts on the go in the city for homeless as well, and great to see our own staff taking part and being involved in this. And of course, Deputy Mayor Locke had mentioned Samantha March. She's a resident here in Mount Pearl. She lives there on Jackman Drive, and the rifle in the won the goal. And I was watching national news last night when saw them standing on the podium. So it was great to say, great there from Mount Pearl. Also, Your Worship, a couple of weeks ago, I attended the opening of a new business here in Mount Pearl on 1012 Topsail Road, Expedia.ca. Expedia is the first time they've opened a business here in this province in Newfoundland, and we all here talk of Expedia, and we're booking our vacations and trips, and they're here just on the top of Commonwealth Avenue. They have enough chairs for 4 staff, but there's going to be 2 staff there at all times, and but Expedia has over 20 people now working at home here in Newfoundland, and for anybody who's always said when they booking online, sometimes they can't find a person and that. So now it's an office here, so it's certainly a great company to welcome here to the city of Mount Pearl, and I was honoured to be there to cut the ribbon on behalf of you, Your Worship, and they're very anxious to be here in the city of Mount Pearl. North East Avalon Joint Council is tomorrow night. Victoria Bellman is their guest speaker to speak about NIMBY, and it's up in CBS. The time has changed, and the meeting is at 7 o'clock. Now they're going to try and start their meetings at 7 o'clock to accommodate the group from Belle Isle and the other groups coming in. So looking forward to that tomorrow evening. And the last item I have on my agenda that I want to speak about this evening is Canada Post. On Friday of this past week, I received a phone call from a lady who was very disturbed. She lives in Powers Pond, actually. She lives on the Dollard Crescent. And her mailbox was frozen, and she couldn't get into her box and into her super mailbox. To find out that she had to contact Canada Post, and I mean, we had our meetings with Canada Post back a while ago, and I sat in on the meetings, and it was this guy there saying, call us anytime you got a problem. Apparently she couldn't reach him. Anyway, she's been told that the mailbox is broken. There's 3 to 5 business days before she can actually get the lock changed and get a new key, and trying to reach somebody at Canada Post and trying to talk to somebody is being a pain. She said she spent hours and hours. Just spoke to her again this morning. She still hasn't got her lock fixed on Tuesday. She's hoping that they're going to have a key dropped off at the Lawton's location sometime tomorrow. She don't even know if that's going to happen. She hasn't been able to get her mail, and she's expecting a check in the mail since last Thursday. Can't get her mail because it was stormy on Thursday and there was no mail. And then Friday she couldn't get her mail. It's Tuesday now, and she was told that she's not going to be able to access her mailbox until maybe sometime tomorrow if they can arrange to get someone to come in and fix her mailbox. So is this the kind of treatment the residents of Mount Pearl is going to end up, going to receive from Canada Post? I mean, we only have 35 to 40% now of Mount Pearl with super mailboxes. Imagine when all Mount Pearl is going to be done with super mailboxes. And, I mean, we have harsh winters here. We had the really bad snowstorm on Thursday when there was no mail, and you wouldn't put your animals outside, let alone going out trying to get your mail from a super mailbox. And here we are with senior citizens and residents trying to get out to get to the mailboxes to find out that they're frozen and can't get into them, and now they're told they got to wait, days before they can actually access their mail. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting, and I think our staff should check into it, because we were told when we met with them that we're a phone call away. Well, where are they today?
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Aker.
I think I actually share that mailbox with that mailbox unit with the resident. And generally speaking, super mailboxes, they're good for some purposes, but Lucy's quite right. This is the big downfall of them. We couldn't get at ours last week at all for the first 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because the locks were just frozen. Thursday was the storm, and I think we went back Friday and we couldn't. There's no sense of playing with the locks, because what's going to end up happening then is you're going to break the lock, and you're going to have to, Councillor Stowers is spot on, you'll wait weeks sometimes to get a response. The mail carriers don't have any responsibility for maintaining the locks, because sometimes all it takes, by the way, is for Canada Post to have someone go up and squirt the locks with a little bit of de-icer if they can.
She did that.
She tried that, and I did too, and it didn't work. Now, I tried that yesterday, and it did work, but you're on your own. So we need to go back to not only the people who are in the field here in Newfoundland and Labrador, but the people who came to us talking about how great these boxes will be. And although they can be good for some purposes, this is going to be one common complaint you'll see. I've experienced it, and I don't know how many other members of council have super mailboxes, but this is one of the chief problems with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Stowers.
Yeah. Well, let's make representation to them then, and talk to them about it again. Thank you, Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Worship. Just a couple of items. First of all, I want to join the Deputy Mayor, and I'm sure all of Council, in just congratulating the Board of Directors and the volunteers, the service groups, and again the corporate sponsors as well for this year's Frosty Festival. This was really a terrific year, very successful. You know, one of the new events, and probably one that I was a little suspect of, to be quite honest with you, was the Saturday night Shanneyganock concert. But boy, I tell you, that was so well attended. I was just absolutely blown away with the response to that. You know, we are sometimes not as well prepared as we might want to be for some of those large-scale events, and we do have some things that we need to correct as facilities and venues, operators, and all that sort of stuff. But from a festival perspective, you couldn't ask for better. I mean, the place, it must have been 2,000 people there. The place was sold out. It was just a rocking good time by everybody. There were plenty of volunteers operating the bars, and people were not, except, you know, the initial lineup, you expect that, you anticipate that anyway. But after that, throughout the night, people could easily access the bar areas that were set up in both areas. There was a lot of logistics and a lot of logistical support required for it. But I think primarily, and I think you did reference it, your worship, once in your remarks throughout the week, you know, sometimes you listen to the ideas of these young people, particularly about online, a subscription to the ticketing and all those sorts of things, and you do it with a little bit of a raised eyebrow. You know, is this actually going to work? Are people ready for this? And I think the answer in this case was an overwhelming yes. People are used to having the convenience of buying tickets from the comfort of their own homes, being able to print it on their printers at home. There are some issues related to that in terms of copying and other things that will be sorted out. You need to have the proper scanners for those tickets and all those kinds of things. But generally speaking, we could not have asked for a more successful festival. Frosty Festival is becoming known throughout the entire country as a very, very successful event. It kind of now is starting in Atlantic Canada to rival the Bonhomme Carnival, the Quebec Winter Festival, and it's really taken off to that magnitude. And I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that. It's really becoming a successful event. So that's one thing. The second thing I wanted to mention, and I want to preface these remarks by saying that so far, thankfully, this year we've had a reasonably good winter. We've had a pretty mild winter. We may be in for a little more of a rough February, March, but Thursday was a lot of snow and a lot of wind and a rare set of circumstances. But I think it underscores the importance of trying to keep our vehicles off the streets. We do have a regulation that says 24 hours following a snowstorm, vehicles can be ticketed or towed if they're impeding the progress of our snow clearing operations. Now look, we're not in the business of trying to go out and torment citizens and ticket them or tow vehicles, but I am asking for the cooperation of people. What you do see happening on occasion is that, you know, whether it's Thursday evening or Friday morning or overnight or in the afternoon Thursday, people are taking their vehicles out of their driveway, they're clearing the snow, they're blowing the snow, and they're leaving their vehicles on the street. And, you know, that's just not sensible, because following a storm like that, or even in the midst of a storm, you know, the plows are going to return every 4 hours or so. They're going to try to push back and widen streets. And there's a continuous, particularly around supper time as people are getting home from work, there's just a continuous barrage of trying to get in and out of these streets, particularly some of the narrow streets with very large pieces of equipment. So I really want to appeal to residents, please. You have a driveway for a purpose. Once it's cleared, put the car back in the driveway. Some people intentionally leave the vehicle on the street so that when the plow comes by, you can't put snow back in the driveway. Well, you know, that's not really particularly productive, because as soon as you do go to work, or as soon as you do put the car in the driveway, now you have even more snow to deal with the next time the plow comes around. So it's only a very temporary solution. So on behalf of Infrastructure Public Works, I appeal to the public, please, whenever and wherever you can, as quickly as you can, get cars off the streets. Don't leave them parked during snowstorms or after snowstorms, and particularly not overnight. And I'd really like that message to be delivered far and wide. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, very much. Councillor Tessier.
Just to expand on that, I wanted to encourage a little bit of patience, I guess, with the public. As we heard this evening, we were down 2 mechanics. We faced a couple of challenges with our snow clearing this past week. And, of course, we did have an extremely high amount of snowfall. But I guess when you have a reputation for being exceptionally good at snow clearing, it's almost come to a point now where it almost feels like we need to catch it on its way down. So we'd like to encourage patience with our residents. We have crews working 24/7, 12-hour shifts, am I right? 24 hours a day, and they're working really hard. So I think it's just really important that we recognize that, sometimes it doesn't happen as quickly as we would like, but there's usually a very, very good reason for that. And I also wanted to extend congratulations to the Frosty Festival Committee. A highlight for me at this year's festival was the International Food and Craft Fair. Holy smokes, was that ever good? I'd love to see that every weekend. That's lunch. That was delicious. That was so very good. But it was outstanding. Lots of really neat things. Obviously, there's age-old events that happen that we all look forward to all the time, and then there's some new events.
I'm starting not to look forward to Battle of the Brains anymore.
Battle of the Brains was tough this year. I got to tell you, we got to brush up on our superhero knowledge. We are not good.
It's the competition.
We are not good.
We had 45 teams, and we came in, 14th?
We would have done better than that had we realized that there was a back page on was it astronomy?
Yeah, we lost out big time there. We never realized it was a third page.
Not good, but it was really interesting to be there and see the level of competitiveness, though. It was awesome.
Guys, it was our worst showing ever. What are you pleased about? It was our worst showing ever.
Well, then you start reading your comic books between now and next year. Maybe next year on our superhero section will be better.
Well, who knows about the X-Men? Seriously. If you're over 9.
No. Okay, my favorite question was, what day of the year sees the most candy sales?
Well, Valentine's and Mother's Day, wasn't it?
No, October 28th.
Oh, for God's sake, Halloween, yes,
Who
of course.
knows? But October 28th.
Why October 28th?
The 28th.
The 2 days before. 3 days before.
So that's just a trick question.
Truly.
So that's the guild.
And we fell for it.
That's the guild. We
But
should
that's
go after them.
that's a question that gave you a point. It rewarded with a point.
Remember they made mistakes too, right? Neptune is not the largest planet. Just going to say, not the largest planet. We knew that one.
If we're looking for perfection, we're in the wrong species.
But anyway, what were we? 14 or 15, whatever we were. Anyway.
Yeah, we did okay. Not bad. Not bad. Well, consider how many teams there were. It was outstanding.
I wasn't part of the team.
Just saying, right?
Just saying.
So easy to sit back and criticize when you're not sitting at the table,
Yeah,
isn't it?
well, that's
Isn't it, Your
what we
Worship?
do. We
Isn't
get
it,
all
Your
kinds
Worship?
of backstreet coaches here.
When you don't have that 30-second clock breathing down your neck. Anyway, I just wanted to congratulate Frosty Festival, everybody involved, committee, volunteers, sponsors. It was outstanding again. And when you're talking to somebody from different parts of Newfoundland and they say, can you do this next week? And I said, no, I have Frosty Festival. Oh, yes, that's right. Because they know. They know. And that speaks to the reputation of the event itself. So I just wanted to extend congratulations.
Thank you very much. Councillor Aker?
Yeah, I too want to join with council in congratulating Keith White and the committee. They did a fabulous job both in marketing the festival and putting off all the events. And my hat goes out to the guiding leaders and all that. They ran that trivia contest that night just
With
like
45,
that.
with what, 45 teams?
And with no exception, if you didn't have the last question written down when Donna came by to grab your paper,
you only
better
had
get
your
your
time.
hands out of the way, right? You know, you were getting a paper cut, right?
Did any of our senior staff other than Michelle participate?
No, I noticed that they didn't.
They were all afraid, eh? They were all
Next year,
cowards.
we should encourage them to have a team.
They
Maybe
should have
we
a
could
team
little
against.
competition,
They should
right,
have a team against.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we should take some of them on our team, Your Worship. Just saying. 6, you're tripping over each other. Your Worship, I have an email here from
Please hurry us along.
go move along, right? From a resident named Harry. And Harry wants to pass on, I won't mention his last name, but he's a frequent user of the trails you talked about, Deputy Mayor. So he'd love to see the trails groomed. But he says in his travels down around Powers Pond in the last few days, a coyote is back. And Harry reported this last year, and in fact, I believe that coyote at the end of it all was caught probably over in the Donovan's area, shot by wildlife. So I don't want to raise any alarms, but I would
And
like
it was a coyote last year, wasn't it?
it was, and I had a picture of it.
And what,
but,
we got another one?
Nobody will ever confirm it. Nobody really wants to come out and say it's a coyote, even though it looks like a coyote, walks like a coyote, smells like a coyote. So without raising any alarms,
He's an urban
Could I ask
He's
either
an
Director
urban animal,
Antle,
this coyote.
either Director Antle or Director Collins, if they could contact Wildlife to give them a heads up, if there's anything they could do to go down in the area, just have a look, and if possible, remove the animal. If he's there, he's only going to become a nuisance. But you're quite right, Your Worship. They are urban animals. 9 times out of 10, a coyote has seen you a lot sooner than you've seen it.
Yes, sir.
So I really don't believe there's any danger to the public. But if you're walking on the trail alone, it could be a little bit spooky. So if I... Yeah, they're very voracious when it comes to taking on a little dog or animal, right? You mean? So maybe could either one of you, I don't know which director is responsible, but if you could let Wildlife know, I and Harry and others would greatly appreciate it. That's it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ledwell.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just had a little chuckle to myself. Last year when Councillor Aker talked about the coyote, I followed that up with a little blurb about the Lions, of course, the Mount Pearl Lions Club, and I'm about to do that once again this year. I won't make the same joke once again, but it's funny how things work out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
No cougars. No, I won't talk about that.
Just coyotes and lions.
The Mount Pearl Lions Club, of course, is a very well-known community organization here in the city of Mount Pearl, and they do lots of great work. And of course, in order to do all of that great work, they do need to raise some funds from time to time. And as Council may have heard, on February 28th, in a couple of weeks on a Saturday, the Lions Club is hosting a pancake breakfast down at Park Place. The tickets are just $7 for adults and $4 for children. It's usually a very good meal. I know that we have a meeting scheduled that day with council and senior staff, but certainly encourage everybody to...
Maybe you got tickets bought.
Well, I heard that rumor, but I said I would bring it forward anyway for the information of the public and encourage as many as possible to get down and have a good meal, good start to your Saturday, and support the Lions Club. And I know that for tickets you can contact any member of the Lions Club or visit mountpearllionsclub.ca. All the information is on there.
Yeah, that's strategic planning day for us here in the city.
It might
We're
be
going to be
pancake
all
day
day
once again for us as well.
So the pancakes will help us get through at least half the morning.
This was what, 6 or 7 pancake breakfasts for you, Your Worship?
That'll be number 4 or 5.
5, okay.
Yeah.
As my father would say, you're soon going to turn into a pancake.
Pancakes, buddy. We've had a lot of them.
That's right. Just to quickly wrap up, I too want to pass along congratulations, of course, to Samantha Marsh and her teammate from the Ghouls on their gold medal yesterday. I do know Samantha, as many of you know, and she's just a fine young woman. This is her second time at the Canada Winter Games, and she continues to impress. She travels competitions around the continent, if not the world, and certainly does her family and her community proud. So congratulations to her. As well, the Frosty Festival, of course, what's left to be said? Not much, obviously, other than to thank the volunteers, thank the sponsors, and thank everybody involved. I think it's interesting to note, if I could offer my one observation, as others have done, it's the volunteers that continue to come out of the woodwork. We've seen some different volunteers over the past year or two on the board of directors that have come forward, expressed new ideas, and whether it be online ticketing, whether it be use of social media, whether it be updating the Frosty costume, any number of things, they've shown that they're certainly well informed and well able to lead our Frosty Festival and other community initiatives. So I just want to congratulate all of the volunteers on a fine Frosty Festival.
Thank you, sir, very much. Well, I think just about everybody got everything covered, haven't they? Frosty Festival, 40th anniversary Mount Pearl Minor Hockey, the pancake breakfast. Did we actually make $1,000 between the Neil Windsor building and here?
But they're still telling two.
So we're close. We're close.
But they're still telling two.
Yeah.
So it should be over 1,000.
Okay.
Still telling
Before we're done. The only other thing I'll add that nobody added, I suppose, because I'm disappointed to discover that my best efforts failed. Last Saturday morning at the Pirates and Princesses breakfast, you'll note that we sang "O Canada." Yes. We had a cake. Yes. We recognized the 50th anniversary of the flag. I had everybody that was there with us tweet it out everywhere and do all that because I wanted us to be #1 in Canada, the first group to celebrate and recognize the 50th anniversary of the flag. Turns out we weren't. That's all I'm saying. We were awfully close, though. I would have thought, because we were a full day ahead, right? But no, we weren't.
But on that, Your Worship, on Flag Day, we did have it on our big
We did it. Boy, did it ever look good. That new screen, does it ever look really, really sharp, I have to say. Yeah, it's really well done. Guys, that's everything I want to say to the Director of Public Works and Infrastructure, Mr. Randall. The updates that you've been providing us as we went through the storm, I know some councilors have sent you notes about it. I've been following it along. I don't know about you, but that's tremendous information to have when the phone rings. And I know it takes you some time to do that, and you got to get away from what you're actually doing to do it. But I just want you to know it is appreciated, and we like that kind of communication. It really is important to know that when equipment is down and why something happened and all that stuff. It's really good. On that note, everybody, I am going to call for a motion to adjourn.